Hey, this is Becca Karpinski. This is my book launch party, and this is my wife Becca. And we're gonna just do a kind of a fun little interview to celebrate this, which is the end of 3 years of crazy work, which is my book called Put Happiness to Work. And it's gonna be kind of informal and just kind of a fun chit chat. And I'm
gonna channel my inner Oprah for possibly the world's most COVID book launch party, because we're sitting here in our living room with like our glass of wine being like, yay, you wrote a book. However, it's a big deal. So we're celebrating it with all of you this way.
Exactly. Should we have a cheers?
Yes. I would like to first start with a toast to all the work that you put into this book, all the research, all the life changes that you made to make it happen. All the writing, the rewriting, the putting up with the editing, the more rewriting, and then turning in the book and saying, oh my gosh, I wrote a book, and then realizing, oh, that's just the beginning of the process. And then months and months and months of getting ready to actually launch a book. So to Eric, and to the fact that McGraw-Hill ordered a second printing already on his book launch day, which is amazing.
Yay!
So, yay you.
Cheers.
All right, so
thank you.
I'm now going to turn into Oprah. Okay, so tell me. It's like I've watched Oprah much, but anyway. Tell me why you wrote this book.
I like the knee rub, though. That's nice.
Is that good? Is that too creepy?
Yeah,
I'm your wife. It's all right.
You've got consent.
All right. Tell me why you wrote this book.
So really, having spent 10 years putting up, really trying to implement in organizations and with teams of people, positive psychology research, and all of the amazing things from positive psychology, from neuroscience, from organizational behavior psychology. There's a lot of really cool things that science proves work, help teams be happier, and help teams be more engaged at work. And so after 10 years of sort of working with teams and trying things out and figuring out what works and what doesn't, and how to make the things work that are supposed to, we really got to a point where I actually had material that I thought was going to be valuable to write a book. So it's a chance for me to summarize a lot of the cool research, some of which just came out in the last couple of years, and really so fresh. What are the things that we know work? What are the things that we know help create more positive emotions at work? And where is that overlap of the things that also help us be more productive, help us be more engaged, help us create better customer service, and all the things that our leaders want? Why don't we also find ways that overlaps with what are the things that help us be happier? And that really is the idea was that consolidation and that overlap is what I believe a lot of people want to read. So we'll see.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting time, right, to put this book out, right? Because so much is going on in this world.
Yeah.
And it's such a time, like, to build something new, build something different.
Yeah, I mean, we've got an opportunity now that we haven't had ever, where we've thrown away so many of the social scripts, right? Most people were sent home. So many people were sent home, and those that weren't, that were essential workers in some way, work was so overwhelming that people just broke and tried to figure it out. Just like, how do we've been in survival mode for a year, right? Where we're just trying to get by, trying to get through it. We're not building. Now's the time to build. As the vaccines are rolling out, we're going to start getting back to something. We're going to move back to something. We can try to move back to what it was, but that wasn't working for a lot of people.
It was a little crappy for a lot of people.
It was a little crappy for a lot of people. So this is an opportunity to say, hey, we're rebuilding. Let's rebuild in a smarter way. Let's be thoughtful about our people. Let's be thoughtful about how we recreate the culture. And and it's going to be very different, right? Some organizations aren't going to go back much at all, or they're going to go back part-time. Others are figuring out what it means now. They haven't even decided what they're going to do, or they're going to try something and it's not going to work, so they're going to try something else.
Yeah.
So this next 6 months is going to be a chance for all of us to implement ways of working together that could be a lot better. Mm-hmm. And so this is the book is kind of a manual of opportunities of ways to do that.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that, because it's an entire book and it's chock full of strategies. how should people think about where to start and what to do first?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, because if you look at this book, it's not meant to be read from cover to cover and then put away. This book is meant to be almost a workbook where the metaphor I like to use is an action buffet, right? There are literally dozens of exercises and habits that I describe in the book. And the idea is, read the book the first time and just see what pulls you in. Ooh, that sounds fun. Ooh, I think Sarah would love that. I think the team might really enjoy that exercise. So you read through it with the idea of what pulls you, what calls to you. And then take a little taster, try it out. Bring it into the team for a couple weeks. Bring it into your life for a week or two. Test it. And you can't just test it once, by the way, because anytime you're implementing some kind of change, the first time is going to be weird and awkward because you're changing social scripts, you're switching things up. So know that
People
the
are
first
going to
time.
give you that look. Why are we
doing this?
This is
This
weird.
is
It's
a waste. Let's
uncomfortable.
get to the agenda,
Right.
right? And that's part of it. And so expect those first couple times to be maybe a little awkward. But then if after 4 or 5 or 10 times of trying something it just doesn't land, that's okay. There are literally dozens of other things that you can try. So go back to the action buffet and try something else. Take a couple more helpings of something small and use it. And then if you find something that really works, that really lands, that people are like, oh, that's interesting, now go back and take a big helping and figure out how do we really integrate that into a couple of different times in our day, or how do we integrate that into our lives and make it a long-term habit so that you're not thinking, hey, let's do a happiness thing now, right? It's like, let's have a picnic or let's have a happy hour. Like, those things are great. There's nothing wrong with them. But if that's all we're relying on for social connection, if that's all we're relying on for happiness, it's not enough. We need to find ways to integrate it into our day-to-day.
And I think that's one of the most powerful things to me is that how do you make these things a habit, right? Because when the moment is urgent, you do the things, right? Like people are saying, like, I'm hurting right now. Like we're in survival mode. I don't feel connected. So leaders step in and they do something, right? In that moment would like have a picnic or have a team building exercise or do something like that. But for me, it's the like, how do you build those small moments into everything you do every day?
Yep.
Right?
How do you spend 2 minutes at the start of a meeting doing some cool exercise? Spend a couple minutes like at the beginning of a one-on-one meeting. Like one of my favorites is if you manage a team, you've got several one-on-one meetings over the course of a week. Start each meeting with just, hey, what's one cool thing you've seen someone on your team do this week? That's a simple question. Now, you can't let them off the hook. Actually, Becca, what's one good thing you've seen one of your team members do this week?
I had someone step in to help design an all-staff call that I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do this. And they were like, I got it. So
Awesome.
that was awesome.
And so you get it. So she's got them handy, right? Because she practices this kind of stuff all the time. But then let's fast forward. Let's do a little, what is it? A scobydoo transition. And then, okay, so we're in the next week. So at the beginning of our meeting, what's one cool thing that someone's done for you or someone on your team's done this week?
Okay, so at this point, I would have something like else. Something
You might
new.
not, but I'm going to sit here and wait
Until I come up with something.
until I have it, right?
Yeah.
Because one of the things as a leader, if you don't sign them off, if you let them off the hook the first time, then they're not going to remember.
Right.
But if by the time we have a third or a fourth meeting, and I ask the same question, she's going to be, as she's walking around that week, she's going to be like, something cool just happened. This is the thing I'm going to bring
I better
to Eric,
remember it.
right? I'm going to tell Eric about this one.
Yeah.
And so then she's starting to scan the world for the good stuff all the time. And even though she hasn't read the book, she's suddenly getting some of the value of some of the habits that we can do because she's exploring it.
Yeah.
And you do that with a few people.
Right.
And plus it often starts your conversation in a positive way, right? She's coming with something cool. We're both appreciating, that cool thing that Sarah did, and of course we hope we tell her.
Right, and then I was going to say, and then you turn around and tell Sarah, "Hey, I heard you did something cool,"
Yeah.
right? And it just builds on each other. Yep.
And
Yep.
it provides so many. It provides you a lot of cool things that then you can share with others.
Yep. Yeah. But that idea of habits is really important. So tell me how you chose these 7 habits, and I'm particularly interested because everyone asks about this. Why 2 of the habits aren't about happiness?
So the 7 strategies of the book, it's interesting. They're in a couple categories. The first one is about social connection and one is about authentic appreciation. And like no duh that's valuable, right? We know that that's something that we should do, but we're really not good at either of those. Most teams aren't really good at either of those in work. So there's a lot of things that if we focus on it, here are some ways to focus and really make it better. Then there's 2 strategies that have a lot of sort of introspection. One is the strengths chapter and one is the meaning chapter. And both of those take, a couple hours of work for each of your individual folks to figure out what are their strengths and some very explicit ways to do that, to figure out what are their personal values and what are the things that they find meaningful. And so 2 strategies are really about, hey, we got to do a little homework first before we can actually start implementing.
And all of those are super obvious. Like those are like, I get those. I'm like, happiness. Yep, those all are things make you happier.
Yeah.
But then.
So then there's a chapter about stress and there's a chapter about negative emotions. And I think both of these are really intriguing because people are like, well, what do they have to do with happiness? Aren't they against happiness? And the fact is, on the negative emotion front, there are a lot of negative emotions that we need to turn towards, that we need to actually open up to and embrace in order for us to be happy. So we need to actually process these negative emotions. I differentiate 2 types of negative emotions. One is the necessary negative emotions, which are something bad happened to me. I didn't get chosen for a promotion or for a team, or COVID, right? I'm stuck at home and I was supposed to do this other thing and now I'm disappointed. And those are the ones you really have to give yourself space to feel sad, to feel angry, to open up to analyze it. And there's a lot of really good information in negative emotions if you take the time to listen. So then there's the whole gratuitous negative emotions. That's the stuff that we do to ourselves. Like we throw it like, oh, I didn't get chosen for the team or for that promotion. That means nobody really thinks that I do any good work. That means I just suck and they're probably going to fire me soon. And then I'm going to
lose my house and I'm going to get divorced.
Homeless and divorced and everything's going to, and catastrophizing and there's a bunch of other things. So what are ways that we can turn that off and switch it over? Yeah. And then the other one is stress. And the stress chapter really has so much great information that is counterintuitive to everything that we've been talked about. That everything we hear about stress, about how it's killing us, how it's destroying our productivity, all those things. It can. But if you approach stress in a different way, if you find a way to respond to it differently, and there's specific tools in the book about how we, I guess we don't have time to go into the details, but there's several good ways, one of which is just realizing stress can be good for you and that it can help you actually changes how you respond to stress.
That one's been game changer for me, and I spend a lot of my life now thinking, wow, this is really telling me this is important. All the stress, it's telling me I really care about this. And it's funny because it really does change how I feel about things.
Yeah.
So it's good. All right. I think we should wrap up.
Okay.
So do you want to grab your thing? We'll do one last toast.
All right.
Hooray you.
Hooray.
Congratulations.
Cheers.
And thanks to everyone out there who has helped Eric on this journey.
Yes. Thank you all for all the help. And this one, who's read and edited every chapter, bounced ideas around, trying to figure out. So Becca is practically the co-author. We should just
I give myself co-author credit. It's cool. Totally. Yeah.
So thank you all for tuning in on Facebook. And Jack, did you want to give them the Zoom link?
Nope.
Did I give it to you? No. Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you.